Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to my final Wii M4 CQBR build. I have built probably many of these ones, but this is my fourth and final Wii M4 real steel build. So, in my previous video, you have seen my MK18 Mod 0. Okay, but today we're going to be talking about something else. We're going to be talking about this one I built here. This is the Wii MK18 Mod 1. Just give you guys a closer look at it. So this one took me since September of 2017. I had to take up a lot of time to do this build and source out the parts as well. But I'm going to give you a rundown of some of the parts that are used in the video for my build. So starting from the rear, I have a B5 stock in Coyote Brown that I purchased. All the custom painting and weathering is done by me. All right, you can see that there's a slight, very subtle snakeskin pattern I've done over here with a bit of dark brown and black on the rear of the stock. But this one over here is a B5 soap mod stock in Coyote Brown. I have a standard A2 grip here. For the fire selector, I'm using a new age steel ambidextrous fire selector. I've actually modded the selector itself so that when it clicks into place, there's a very strong click in it. And it doesn't wobble in safe, semi, or in full auto. In terms of the detent and the detent spring, it's by Daniel Defense. The extension tube up here, or the buffer tube, also by Daniel Defense, as well as the castle nuts. Charging handle, also by Daniel Defense as well. I have a rear sling mount. This is the official Dieter CQD rear sling mount, as well as a front CQD sling mount as well. I got the lower receiver custom engraved down here, and just wanted to show you guys that the bolt itself is also engraved with laser etching, as you can see over here. Okay. The magazine catch is also by Daniel Defense, and the trigger guard is by KAC Knights Armaments, and I'm using KAC rear and front micro sights that I've acquired, and also an EOTech XPS 3, I believe it is. Internally, I'll show you guys some of the parts that were used. Now, also to note that the front and the rear takedown pins, also by Daniel Defense, as well as the detent pins and the springs as well. So I'm just going to crack open the receiver. So, looking into the main trigger set, I'm using Rawtech. Traditionally, I use CWI, but since the trigger sets are so hard to find, I figured that I would try again with Rawtech. I've modded the disconnector and with the hammer as well, so that it doesn't stick. So here is an example that it works on semi. As you can see, there's a second click. And then once you pull down the trigger again, then the hammer will strike forward. Fire pin and the delayer is also by Rawtech. In terms of the bolt itself, this is the 2015 Rawtech version. I'm using the stock nozzle. I find that this works the best. The bolt itself I've modded in terms of the underside. I find that it's a bit high, and as a result, it's the hammer, the roller on the hammer, it actually makes the bolt go higher, and as such it gets stuck to the upper receiver and the channel of the charging handle. So so therefore I kind of modified the bottom ramp over here so that it glides smoother within the upper receiver and the buffer tube. I've also modded a bit on the gas key over here. I've airbrushed it back so you can't really see, but it's slightly shorter as well. So it's been lowered so that it can go back and cycle within the gun smoothly. All right, so that's the bolt carrier itself. The rail, as you can see, is the MK18 rail in FDE by DD as well. I'm using an Element PEC 15 box. I find that the Element ones, they look the best actually. They look better than the VFC or the Battle Axe ones. And I just find that they look more authentic, and the laser and the light is actually pretty bright. I'll give you guys a demonstration. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but that's the laser. And this is the light. It's actually pretty bright. Hope I don't blind you guys. I was actually quite surprised with the quality of this, but it's actually pretty good as well. I am using a Surefire M300C Scout Light in tan with also an SR07 dual switch as well. I find that this is actually pretty good too. It's actually pretty bright. On the front of the gun over here, I'm using a KAC hand stop, and on the distal end of my gun, I'm using a Surefire Warden Blast diffuser. This one is by far much better than the clone. Just gonna take this off. In terms of the flash hider or the muzzle flash itself, this is by Surefire SOCOM, the close tint muzzle flash. The outer barrel itself is by Vipertech. I'm using a Mad Bull AEG inner barrel, and I cut the barrel and I crowned it or chamfered it right, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it goes right to the edge of the muzzle flash. If it's too short, I'm worried that it might actually hit the Warden at the end over here. So I wanted to maximize the length of it just at the very tip over here, and I cut it and I crown it so that there's no burrs in the way. Here's the EOTech as well. Let me see if I can turn it on. Oops. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but there is the holographic sights. This one also has night vision compatible as well by the NV button. So I'm just going to do a test fire of the gun. Just to note that I basically airbrushed the lower receiver myself. And I've also custom weathered the gun with some crayon tan paint. I did some snakeskin pattern on the top of the XPS, made the rail and the receiver and the body of the gun, as well as the Surefire M300 and the PEC box look a bit dirty as well, along with the can I have over here. I really like this. It's actually very very simple to put on, very convenient, and it's also very tight as well. Mind you, the MK18 rail, I've made sure to torque it with the upper receiver to spec, so there's absolutely no wobble at all. And even with the outer barrel, the Vipertech outer barrel, there's no wobble because it is actually being held into place by the barrel nut very strong. And I've also ensured that the rail on the upper receiver here aligns perfectly with the top portion of the MK18 rail. So just to do a test fire of the gun, this is the gun on semi. It's actually pretty loud itself. I've ensured that the gun bolt cycles smoothly. And then on full auto. So just wanted to give you guys a tour of my gun. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment below. I've put in a lot of work into this project myself, and it's one of my favorites now. But just wanted to let you guys see both the externals of the gun and also the internals as well. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you have questions, feel free to post them in the comments in the bottom and let me know.